In the last episode of The Time Compass, during its beginnings, Rome was ruled by kings. When one king died,
My fellow...
the elite met to elect a successor. So really, power was always in the hands of the elite in Rome. And these people called themselves the patricians. But the Romans were never happy with the territory they had. They always wanted more and more and more. This ambition could only be carried out thanks to the creation of the most powerful army in the world. During the first years of the empire, Rome conquered land from the Atlantic Ocean to the Euphrates River, and from England to the Sahara Desert. Wow! The Romans kept conquering territory and expanding their empire for centuries. Some of the greatest expansions happened during the 2nd century AD, during the reigns of the emperors Claudius and Trajan. The Time Compass. Imperial Rome, Part 2. Rome had conquered much territory and was extremely wealthy, but still the tension between the patricians and the plebeians was constant. So the emperors looked for a way of keeping the people entertained, and this was the shows of the Roman circus. The Roman people loved getting together to see chariot races, naval combat, and gladiator battles. Bulls, lions, and rhinoceros were used in fights against each other and against gladiators in the ring.
Tickets! Get your tickets for today's epic battle. More epic than yesterday, but not as epic as tomorrow. Tickets! Who needs tickets?
But who were these men who risked their lives in the aim of entertaining the people? They were generally prisoners of war or criminals who had been made slaves. At the end of a fight, when a gladiator was wounded and fell to the ground, the emperor and the spectators would choose if he deserved to live or be killed. The best gladiators, who won many battles, were heroes to the people. They had fame and money, and if they were good enough, they were freed from slavery and allowed to bask in their fame and wealth for the rest of their lives. The family. At the heart of the Roman society was the family. The rich patrician families were the descendants of the first inhabitants of the city.
I am the paterfamilias, or father of the family, and I have total authority over matters of the home. For example, when my relatives want to get married, I have to give permission, and when they get in an argument, I act as judge.
That's right. Everything and everyone in the household depended on him. Not only the children and relatives, but also all those who lived under his authority, including the servants and slaves. Of course, the best thing was to respect and obey the paterfamilias, because the law gave him such power that he could decide on the life, sale into slavery, or death of any family member.
Get on with it!
Yes, sir. Every morning, after putting on his tunic and having breakfast, a Roman noble would leave to go to the Forum, which was where all the leaders of the city would meet. There, he learned about all the news, talked with other nobles, and dedicated himself to business. After a light lunch and maybe a bit of a nap, the paterfamilias would go to the public baths to have a relaxing dip in the hot water. The baths were very important to the Romans, who set up ingenious boiler systems to heat the water. Water that got to the city by way of a huge system of aqueducts, which brought the water from springs and lakes. The law. The law was something very serious in Rome, because anybody who broke it could lose all their possessions or their life. But how could you know what to do if the laws were being changed all the time on the whims of the patricians? Well, here was the solution. the plebeians demanded that a code be established in which all the laws and their respective changes would be recorded. This code of laws is what is known today as Roman law. Currently, nearly all the countries in the world use this code as a base before proclaiming a law. There were laws for almost every aspect of life in Rome. Laws for buying and selling, laws for traveling or sailing, laws for getting married. Wow, a lot. The Romans also understood that a common language was needed to manage an empire that was inhabited by so many different people. This is how the use of Latin grew. The Latin language started on the Italian peninsula, but then was spread by the Roman Empire far and wide. Everywhere that Rome conquered eventually ended up using the language. Whenever the Romans got to a new land where people spoke a language other than Latin, the Romans would call them barbarians. The Romans thought it would be easier for everyone if the entire empire spoke the same language. So for better or worse, Latin replaced many of the local languages. Due to the large expansion of Rome, many languages are based on Latin. You can kind of tell by the similarity between the same words in different languages. Here's an example. To say good day in Latin was buenos dias. And in Spanish,
Buen dia.
French,
Bonjour.
Portuguese,
Bon dia.
Romanian,
Buna.
and of course Italian.
Ci vediamo, caro mio.
The end of the empire.
Welcome to the History of Rome game show. I'm your host, Claudius Maximus Decimus Imperius Populus. Today's million-dollar question is, can an empire last forever?
As the Roman Empire expanded further from its center, many different peoples were conquered and incorporated into the empire. Over the centuries, these peoples got tired of being under the authority of the Romans. At the end of the 3rd century AD, the empire had to be split into 2 parts. But rather than make things easier, this division led to various civil wars, poisonings, and a number of emperors who did not manage to maintain the balance.
Contestants, are you paying attention?
During the age of Caesar Augustus, that is, at the beginning of the empire, in a remote and faraway Roman province called Palestine, Jesus of Nazareth was born. Jesus was very kind and preached to the people that it was possible to achieve salvation in the kingdom of God with love. These ideas slowly started receiving enormous support, so the proud Romans began to view Jesus as a powerful enemy. In the end, they arrested and crucified him. After centuries of persecutions and deaths, Christianity eventually ended up becoming the main religion of the Roman Empire. Finally, the empire became impossible to manage. The western part of the empire fell in the year 476 AD at the hands of Germanic peoples. The other half became the Byzantine Empire and remained until 1453, when it was conquered by the Turks.
So that brings us to our question. Can an empire last forever? Peepo?
No?
And the answer is... Wait for it! No!
Even though the Roman Empire didn't last forever, the influence of that time has definitely lasted to this day. Latin is the mother language of many modern languages. Roman law is the basis of nearly all the world's laws. And modern states are modeled on Roman institutions. Even today, centuries after its ancient splendor, Rome can be the city to which all roads lead. Let's dig a little deeper with our time compass and find out what else was going on around the world at that time. What was happening in Byzantium while ancient Rome was falling into the hands of the Germans? Well, in Byzantium, a new Rome was flourishing.
Wait a minute! Ancient Rome? New Rome? I'm confused!
As we've already seen, by the end of the 3rd century, the Roman Empire had been split into 2. The Western Roman Empire, whose capital city was the city of Rome, and the Eastern Roman Empire, whose capital city was Constantinople. This was the new Rome.
Ah, now I see.
Constantinople was named after the Emperor Constantine, who moved the Senate to that city and built some marvelous structures there, like huge basilicas and an incredible stadium for horse racing. But Constantine did another very important thing. Before Constantine came to power, Christians had been persecuted for centuries. But he put a stop to that and was the first emperor to accept Christianity within the Roman Empire. In the following years, Christianity became the official religion of the great Roman state.